Hi, welcome to NDE TV. I'm Peggy Robinson. Today's guest is Mary Rogers. And everyone is learning about her story the same time I am because I know nothing about it. We just met up last night and got together this morning. Hi, Mary.
Hi, Peggy.
So how did this all come about where you end up having a near-death experience?
I was at a treatment facility getting medically weaned from a pharmaceutical drug, and I started to get real sick and vomiting and just not headache, like crazy headache. And so they put me in the hospital portion of the treatment facility. And for whatever reason, I just said, I need to get out of this room and I need to go outside and I need to breathe fresh air. So I went outside and I had met some people in the treatment facility, and one of them came over to me and said, Mary, are you okay? And as she said that, I can't retain this feeling, but at the time it felt like somebody had just shot me in the head and I was out. And the next thing I knew, they had me in the ambulance and I began to separate from my body in the ambulance, and I was watching everything that was going down. And I turned around, I kind of looked at the space and I said, am I dead? And I hear this voice, and I choose to call it God, say, no, keep walking. So I kept walking. All I saw, I could hear like angels and like other people in heaven, which is what I call it. I could hear them, but I couldn't see them.
Were they talking, singing?
There was a lot of singing going on in all different directions. And I could hear, like if you go to a concert and everybody's having a conversation and you kind of hear all that blah, 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 blah. Well, that's exactly what was going on. So I heard that. I kept
But you saw nothing, right?
I didn't see anything.
Could you tell by the voice how close they were to you?
No, I can't. No,
Okay.
no. So the next thing I came upon was this incredible field, and it was filled with my favorite flower, which is a Gerber daisy. And like Alice in Wonderland, they were like massively giant, and I just kind of looked and they were swaying in the breeze.
Okay, that's gonna be my heaven.
It's the bomb. So I sat down in this beautiful field. I just couldn't believe it was like, just what is going on? I couldn't believe it. And then I turned around, and I don't know if you're familiar with the tree of life. The olive tree is called the tree of life. And I turned around and looked at it and I said, oh, there's the tree of life. And behind it was Jesus. I went, is that Jesus?
What did he look like?
OMG. I'll tell you in a second.
Okay.
So I saw him walking towards me. He kept walking towards me, and I was getting more excited, but I tried to be cool about the whole thing. So Jesus came down. We didn't talk through our mouths. We could talk through our, I guess, brain, conscious to conscious. And he extended his hand to me. And I put my hand in his, and I stood up. And as I stood up, I looked into his eyes, and I guess to describe what his eyes look like here on the earth, hazel eyes maybe, but where I saw his eyes, all the galaxies were there, the stars, the planets. His eyes went on forever. So we split again, and Jesus takes me down to the stream, this beautiful stream. And he begins to wash my feet. And I'm looking from the field. I know he was washing my feet. So I looked down and I tried to see what he was saying, but I couldn't make it out. And it comes to me sometimes just out of the blue, I'll go, oh my God, he said that too. Oh, that's interesting. That happened too. So I still am collecting my near-death experience in this journey. So the next thing I did was the part of me that was on the field kept walking around. National Geographic Channel, ever seen it? The National Geographic Channel, well, times it by 1 billion. The nature and the waterfalls, and it was just, I don't have the words for that yet. I hope they come. The next thing I saw was, and I didn't even know what this was, but I apparently visited the Akashic Library, or the Hall of Wisdom, or the Hall of Truth. And it was this massive building, like the White House, huge pillars. And I walked in and all I saw were book after book after book after book. And I put my hand on the books, and all the information from those books like is in my bloodstream somewhere. I wish I could give you a blood test, but I've got all this information in me, and I don't know when or how that's going to be expressed. But I don't
You
think
kept
that
it?
was an accident. I have it in here somewhere.
See, everybody
It's in my
else, all the
body.
other in the ears say, but I don't remember it. I was given the information, all that, but I wasn't allowed to bring it back. But you brought it back.
Well, I did bring some of it back, but I don't have, I mean, it has to be a spontaneous situation. Like if somebody asks me something, I'll say something. I'll go, oh, where'd that come from? And so God is a mystery. Universe is a mystery. I'm back here with the rest of you people. So I'm on the same plane. It's just one foot seems to be in another place and one foot is here. And I'm telling you, it is so hard to walk that way. It's a very lonely, like in terms of people, self, it's very lonely. And there's so many things that happen even in a day. And I'm like, how am I supposed to get all this out? I'm 60 years old. How long am I gonna, do I have to keep on waiting until purpose shows up? So far, that's what I do. I'm a licensed reflexologist and cosmetologist and esthetician. And my brain aneurysm, when I was in a coma for 3.5 months.
So that's what caused this, was a brain aneurysm.
That's what caused it. I was out in and out for 3.5 months. And, I call it spiritual boot camp.
So your NDE, was it more going back than once? Was you continually going, or you just remember one time?
Oh no, I mean, it filters in. I can't do it any better than that. I will go, oh, I'll remember it. Like in nowadays, it will come to me. But I only had one near-death experience that I know of. So you got a question? Something not clear?
No, go ahead.
I don't know what your question is. What you said, some people
Trying to turn up the volume. I thought maybe I could do it on my mic, and I lost you for a second. What you were saying, I'm sorry. I thought maybe if I turn this knob on here, maybe it's on my end. But could you ask that again?
Well, I was answering your question that my near-death experience, to be honest with you, is still happening. I'm still doing the work. It's
how long ago was this?
I don't know. I wish 20, it'll be 21 years the day after Christmas.
21 years.
Yeah, and this is the first time I'm really sharing the story, because I'm ready to do that now.
Really? You have not been interviewed before?
No, I wasn't ready.
Oh, okay. Our mutual
Yeah.
friend in Netherlands, you had just talked to her, but you didn't do a interview?
Yeah, we did an interview yesterday. We
Oh,
did.
okay. Okay.
And she told me to get in touch with you, which is what I did.
Okay. So, I think yours will probably be what, out in a couple weeks when she has it ready,
I think
probably.
so.
Because she has an
Yeah.
editor and they do a lot of stuff, and I get mine out the same day. Like yours will be out tonight. Your video will be
Okay.
ready.
Okay. So what other questions? I can tell you that I was given choice. And that was one of the things Jesus said. He said, do you want to stay here or do you want to go back? And it wasn't like, oh, I want to go back. It was like, oh, I'll go back. And he looked at me and he said, my child, you have no idea the level of suffering that you will have to go through. And I went, it's not a big deal. I'm bipolar. I understand suffering. It's okay. I'll go back. And Jesus pulled me in again and he said, no, you don't understand. And I just kept saying, I'll go back. On the third time, my body or spirit or whatever you want to call it, my energy flew through the galaxies. It's like some Disney movie. I'm just saying, I can't really describe it better than that. And I slammed into my body that was limp, paralyzed on the right side, couldn't walk or talk. Pain, mother of God, the pain was awful. Only way I can describe it is you go to a dentist, you feel that numb feeling that it's starting to come back. That was the way my whole body felt, and it was agony, and I was on fire hot. So I've only been out of that really intense place for about 7 months, which is why I have not shared my story, because there were pieces that needed to be put together before I was willing to share and to talk.
What do you mean by intensive place?
Well, I don't know if you're what denomination. I was raised Catholic. Well, the Satan of my Catholic understanding was my partner for the last 21 years. I've been hanging out. The
Did you
devil.
say Satan?
Yep, I did.
How?
It was frightening.
Pardon me?
I said it was frightening. There was no physical presence of him, just darkness all surrounding me. And it felt like evil, hot breath against my cheek. So
You feel you were something, a presence was trying to keep you from telling your story?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. And just to try to see if I'll kill myself, because I tried to kill myself once.
Well, guess what, Satan? Here she is.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. The good will always win. The good will always. Totally. Yeah. So it's been a short time.
Well, I tell you what, when you said, Jesus said to you, my child, my heart sank, because I had a moment of total despair one day, and I was alone, complete quiet in the house. We live out in the country, there's no noise around,
Yeah.
And I was sobbing, and I suddenly heard an audible voice in front of the mirror. I'm sitting on the toilet bawling, and I heard, my child. And it changed my life in that moment. Whenever you feel that dark force, remember the voice that said, my child.
It's the only way I was able to make it through. It really is. It's been awful.
Well, I compare my story to the Christmas Carol, so don't feel bad when you compare yours.
Talk to me, sister. I know.
Did you go back and forward in time? Were you shown visions or?
No, I wasn't shown anything, but the message that I was to bring, or I'm just saying this right now since you asked the question, it's about love and it's about connection. And the year 2020, all we had that was going on was a lot of hate, a lot of division. It's okay, I'm Catholic and it comes from my own place. What happened in 2020 is biblical stuff. It's just the way I feel about it.
Don't apologize for how you feel and what you have to say.
That's
Not
all I
here.
can tell you. It's about the love, healing, connection. We can have heaven on earth, but we have to decide. People have to decide what's better for them. And I call those people lost souls. I know all about the lost souls too.
Do you feel this is end times?
No, I don't feel like, oh God, the end of the world is happening. No, I think the pandemic is an opportunity to do everything differently. They didn't take that to do everything differently. We have broken systems, hospitals, insurance companies, government, all of it's pretty corrupt. And this is an opportunity, if we can get enough people on the light side of things, to do our society different. I'm just saying it's a chance.
I see it going downhill more every day.
I know. I don't go there. The only reason I don't go there is that why would I come back and just die again really quick? It doesn't make sense. I don't think that I think the world as we know it as human beings is shifting and changing. But there has to be a lot more love and a lot more connection than there is right now. I get despaired about that, honestly, because I am a human being. That makes me really sad. But I don't feel like, oh, yay, the end of the world is here.
Oh, no. Oh, no. No, I don't celebrate it. I don't want that to be the case.
Don't.
But yeah.
But the message, when you asked, is there anything that you brought back? And just when you asked me that question, I went, oh yeah, it's about the love, connection, and healing. That just came out of nowhere. So I haven't heard that before.
So what did Jesus look like besides the hazel eyes? Did he have the brown shoulder length hair? I mean, the typical.
No. My daughter and I went to a movie and it was called Heaven is for Real. Ever heard of that movie?
Yep.
There is an artist, Akiana, I don't know her last name.
Carmark. I'm not saying if I say it right. Yeah.
I know. Well, that Jesus that she painted, my daughter and I were in the movie theater and I absolutely broke into tears and was hysterically crying because there was so much of what he looked like that resembled the Jesus I bumped into. That's as close as I can get. There's no long hair. He did have a robe, like a white robe with a rope around his waist. He had sandals on, pretty Christian Jesus, but that face, I don't know how one face can contain an entire world of nationalities in one face, and how his eyes held the universe in them. It was, how much, it's hard to live. I'm just saying, like after something like that, you know, it's a daily, it's a daily walk.
After my 5-year-old drowning, I was at Sunday school and coloring a picture singing Jesus Loves Me. And I was so moved by the picture and what I was singing, and I got so wrapped up that I left my body. Excuse me. And then I was suddenly in a scene exactly like what I was coloring. And so it was that Jesus that I have in my mind that I'm looking at coloring. That's what I saw. The kid standing there, him sitting on the rock, just like I was coloring.
Yeah.
And so that was my first time seeing Jesus. And the next time was during my second NDE when I was 25. And I first saw him from behind. And I was a point of reference, like his orb spirit. And then I seen my body, my physical self beside him like this.
Yeah.
Just for a second. And we dipped down. And suddenly we were at Earth over top our trailer because I asked to look in the future about my boys. And then when one of my boys was so upset, I retracted and I felt his pain. And then I'm back in heaven, but now I'm in my physical body because I see my hands come up in front of my face and I'm back where I was, which is a panel of people, God sitting up front and center, and Jesus was on his side. Which
Now,
you see in the Bible, he sits on the right. Well, it was my right, so it would be God's left. And it's just a faint outline. It's a knowing who's who here. But then at the very end, I was sobbing and crying because it was my time. I was told, no, I can't go back. And so I'm sobbing. And I say, with my hands up like this, who else will teach them about you? Because I'm crumbled on the floor of heaven at Jesus' feet. So did I see Jesus' feet, or did my imagination pick up what I think Jesus' feet would look like? Because I knew where I was, you know what I mean? Just like maybe 5 years old coloring that picture. It was identical to what I was coloring, you know? And I didn't tell anybody that for a long time because they would think I'm making this stuff up. Imagine it.
I know.
That's my only sight of Jesus.
What did he look like?
When I saw him from behind, it was brown shoulder length hair, kind of full hair, not thin. No. You know, thin man. And then his feet was just like a white garment, like old fashioned, like weaved material or something, and brown sandals. And then, but when at 5 years old at Sunday school, when I saw that, it was identical to the picture, but it was alive. Yeah. It was him sitting there on that rock, two kids standing there waiting their turn to sit on his lap, and another one kind of sitting in front, one sitting on his lap. And there's me now in this like a video. It looked like a picture, a coloring page suddenly turned into a video. You know, it's live happening. And I am there and I'm standing in front like I was, you know, in front of this picture, and I'm standing in front and I went on Jesus' lap. And I want to push that kid off. I don't. I know I got to be good, but it's like waiting to sit on Santa Claus's lap, how you just can't wait your turn. And I felt his love for the other kids and I wanted it so bad. I was so impatient. And I was
amazing.
Told. So this was another voice saying this because it said, Jesus loves children of every color. Never forget that.
Ever.
I never forgot it.
I told my husband during lockdown and Black Lives Matter and just the horridness of what was going on. This is what happens when I have a TBI, a traumatic brain injury. What my problem is that I had this big thing that I was just going to say, and it went away. So I'm trying to get it back to see exactly what I was going to say because it was important.
I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, it's my brain thing.
Okay.
But we were talking about something. A coloring book, and then keep talking about what you were talking about.
Okay, so I was 5 years old. It's after my drowning. I was coloring a picture of Jesus and the children, and suddenly I was there in heaven in that same scenario. Jesus sitting on the rock, the children right there, a child on his lap, and me standing in front wanting my turn so bad.
That's what we're talking about. Listen, this God, this Jesus, this Holy Spirit, this whatever religion you choose to go to, the one thing that all the near-death experiences and religions, the one thing they talk about is the love. There's no words to describe that level of incredible love. And we can have that here if we choose to. So
It is a choice.
it's a total choice. And I told my husband the other day, I said, listen, I'm just going to Gandhi myself through the rest of my life. I'm just going to let the chips fall where they may. I will do the work.
That's my favorite saying.
Let the chips, I'm serious. It's a beautiful Gandhi moment, and I'm just going to be the change that I want to see in the world.
Yeah.
Because I can't do it. Media is helpful. This is helpful to get it out to people. Like, are you kidding? It's time to connect and love now. Hurry up.
Get past your crap.
That's what I feel. Hurry up and heal, people. And I don't know why I'm saying this to you, Peggy, because it's not something that sometimes I just don't know.
See, I feel time's wasting. I feel time's of the essence. I feel an urgency.
Well,
I don't feel I can wait and do this when I know how, when I'm good at it, doing these podcasts. It was like, I didn't know how. It's like, but you're doing it now. It has to happen now. Not that I think I'm the all end all to the world. It's just something I personally, I'm doing.
We all get a call.
Mhm.
We all get a call. I feel like I'm an EMT for heaven. It's like whatever time in the morning between 3 and 5 is a very busy time that's happening for me.
Yeah.
So there's a whole lot more to the story, and I don't know how it ends. I don't know.
And I don't know if there's anything to this or not, but about a month, maybe a couple weeks before we heard of COVID on TV and all this pandemic stuff, hadn't heard anything. And I was cleaning in the bedroom, staying at the farmhouse, taking care of my father-in-law after my mother-in-law passed. And I was making the bed, and the TV was on the bedroom, and the news, and just kind of like, and I kind of thought out loud, pretty loud to myself, you know, I always thought, wondered if I would be alive when end times come. Because I heard about end times in Sunday school as a kid. I never thought a lot about it, but I just kind of had that thought all of a sudden. And I thought, I don't think I am. I think it'll be like way off in the future, just making the bed. All of a sudden, I was given the knowledge. No, it is in your time. And I just kind of sat down like, what? It was like, there's no denying it.
No.
My time. You know, how am I going to, I'm 60. Am I going to live another 40 years or 10 years or 2 years? I don't know. One day, I don't know.
Same.
And so that's just me. It could be nothing to it. It could be just a stupid thing in my dumb head.
No, I think that, I don't know, what I've experienced from this pandemic has been both incredibly, this intense love of human beings, but there is so much hate, so much anger, so much rage. It's like, oh, are we going to maybe have a civil war in my time? And I hear the word yes.
Yes. I have been hearing about it.
Yeah. And I don't like to say this, but here's the deal. If Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form is able to get reelected somehow, we're in shit trouble. He's a very, very scary man. And he's got a lot of power and a lot of money.
Are you Democrat?
No, I'm a nobody. I vote for who's good.
See, I think we're in a shitload of trouble right now.
No, we are. We are. We're in shit trouble either way you slice it.
Yeah.
But Donald Trump, if he gets any more power, he's a scary, scary dude.
I am pro-Trump, but January 6th gave me pause.
I hope so. Good.
And not to get off on political stuff
No.
at all, but that's about all I have to say about that. And I did hear somewhere, and it's been coming to me in my head lately, that once I think I heard it somewhere, that there's a lot of turmoil, but once we all think we're safe, that's when our problems are going to hit. And I have wondered, if Trump gets reelected, a lot of people are going to think, oh, we're safe now. But I think the retaliation of that, because it's like hell has no fury like a woman scorned. And ever since Hillary Clinton didn't win, it's hell on wheels around here. Everybody's going to pay. And now they got their Biden, and he's doing crap, and he's going to get booted, you know, and then we're going to get Pelosi. It's just going to get worse. It's going to snowball, snowball, snowball. And so if we get someone everybody's happy with, or somebody else is happy with, other than the people that's happy right now, and I think we all get feeling safe, the other side is going to boom. Whichever side it is, I just feel like there's going to be this boom.
Well, that boom is happening on a daily basis.
It is. It is.
So it's how we work with it. And I'm just suggesting that we work with it through love and compassion and understanding and non-judgmental, all of that stuff. And it's the biggest job ever, but we each have a part to play in it.
Mhm.
I, for one, am practicing eternity every day. My escrow in heaven is looking mighty fine.
What is?
My escrow in heaven.
Oh.
Karmically speaking, I only do what I feel called to do, and that is to treat every human being the way I want to be treated. Trump, Joe Biden, Hitler, all of these people came from God. All of them. And
I think we're screwed either way.
Well, that we're in agreement then. I agree with you, Peggy. We're screwed.
Mhm.
But I also know that through huge suffering and stress, things get ignited. Inspiration happens. So I'm holding on to that. I'm going to hold on to, ooh, this could be a really cool thing. Or this could be a shitstorm.
I
There's
see
only two
nothing
ways.
good of any of it. I do not see good in any of it.
I'm
I do
sorry.
not think good is going to come out of any of it. That's my
Okay.
opinion.
That's okay. You've got your opinion. I think something really beautiful can happen.
I mean, I'd like to have hope. And I'll be the
something-
first in line to sign up for hope as soon as I see
Yes.
it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
off topic. So how long did it feel like you were there in heaven?
See, that's the other thing that's tricky. Time. There's no time. So let me think of it in an earth way. It felt like maybe freshman in high school, like a period of a school term. That just came to me too, Peggy. You asked me, and there it is. It felt like a school term. So like a year, whatever that is.
And you probably were getting a schooling.
Oh my God. And I'll tell you what, I can't for the life of me think that I would go, oh yeah, I'll do that. No. I do not think that I would choose a life like this because it's been hell. I don't know why I would do that. I'm a loving mother. Why would I choose to live this really suffering, horrible life? It's been very hard.
Do you still have a lot of pain?
No, thank God. Not physical anyway. No. It took a good, I don't know, 2 years to rehab to get back to walking. I lived in a transitional home with a couple of other brain injured people. That was weird. It was all weird. I'm just saying. I don't know how to put really good words on all of it because it's a moment to moment kind of living, Peggy.
Okay, well, people want to
And
hear the details. What details can you give us
I can give you lots of details.
of what
Ask me
you
a question.
saw, heard, felt, experienced?
Okay, well,
Everybody
as
wants to
I
know what
said,
it's like.
okay, the only thing I can tell you is that it's like the National Geographic Channel in my experience. Beauty of rolling hills, fields, oceans, fountain or waterfalls. But behind that exists angels and people who have gone before me. I can hear the voices. I still can hear that sound. And it's like being at a concert. Everybody's talking a different language or a different conversation. So there's a lot there. There is nothing that any of us need to be afraid of. There's nothing to fear because everything will go down the way it goes down. It's just that we need to get really serious about connecting in compassion and love and non-judgmental. There's too much judgment in our world, way too much. And a lot of religions are very, I don't know what the word is. I'm not an organized religion kind of girl. I just, I can celebrate God in a garbage dump. I don't need a church to celebrate every day why I'm back here every single day. And I think people know the seriousness of what's going on. So what could I tell people to do? Turn to each other in kindness and compassion. If you're green, yellow, black, or orange, it matters not to this God. He created all of it. Why would we treat each other that badly? If God created all of us.
When you downloaded or absorbed whatever this information and these records, what kind of information? Was it people's daily lives, people's purpose in life? What was it?
No, it was the ancient records of all the mystics and geniuses of the world were in these books. And people in history, people who have done extraordinary things in life, and how they did it. It's the how they did it that's in here in the body. And I can't promise anything. I can't promise that it'll come out tomorrow, but I got a lot in here.
That's interesting. Can you imagine a school like that where we didn't learn about the wars, but we learned about saints or people that made a difference in the world and how they did it, what they went through?
Totally. I'm with you, Peggy. We agree. I'm all about the love, people. And respect. I don't care who you are. You have my respect. Until you do something crappy, you got my respect.
I have a really bad habit because I think growing up just a functional family. Oh, you did this and that. I'm still here. Oh, you did this again. I'm still here.
Yeah.
Because that was my life.
Yeah, I hear you.
And so I'm
know.
just learning at this age, late age in life, to step out of that. You can't help them. You can't change them. You're not making a difference with them. They are just dragging you down with them.
Yeah, I'm not going there. I don't need you to friend me on Facebook. I'm good with it.
Don't need what?
You know, you don't need to friend me on Facebook. It matters not. The ones who are ready to hear the story will show up. I'd have liked to talk to you 9 years ago, but I couldn't.
Huh?
9 years ago, I couldn't have had this interview.
Right. Right.
Not
Oh,
ready.
me neither.
Yeah, not ready.
And you know, I get hateful comments on these videos, and I'm thinking they're not learning anything from them. If they can watch and hear us talk about the other side and about the love and about the compassion, etc., and say the mean stuff they do, I just block them from the channel. I don't need people like that on the channel.
No, but I'll tell you something. I saw a documentary on a psychiatrist who went to the prison with Ted Bundy. There was 3 serial killers that she went and she sat with them and talked with them, and every single one of those stories, the abuse that happened to these children, because Ted Bundy was a child once, ferociously abused. I'm not saying go ahead and do it. I'm just saying that there's a lot of reasons why people do crappy things.
Yeah.
And it's still a choice.
Yeah.
It is
and you
still a
know, the
choice.
childhood I had, and I was the youngest foster parent in our area. And then I was therapeutic foster parent before I went into college to become, you know, children's services worker. And so,
Yeah.
you know, I had 60 foster kids. I was child abuse investigator 7 years. And then I went to adopt, and they're looking at me with their paperwork, because their paperwork says if you were abused as a child, you'll probably abuse children. And I'm thinking, me? Are you kidding me? 60 therapeutic foster kids. Therapeutic is working with child psychologists on a daily basis. You're giving me your hardest kids that would have normally went to either Department of Youth Services or mental health facility. This is the kids I got. Okay. And then working as child abuse investigator, I handled 75% of all of our cases. I got confessions. Cops couldn't believe how I got confessions. I knew things people didn't understand how I knew. I didn't know either. But so
I think it's called intuition, Peggy.
And then they have this out there that because you was abused as a child, it's like you might abuse children.
Well, here's the deal, though. My father was a chief investigator. Well, my father was a chief investigator of child abuse, and he molested and beat the kids. And there was a movie made of it. It was on Lifetime for eons.
What did you just say?
A movie was made of my family and of my father. He was the chief investigator of child abuse in Colorado Springs for 30 years, and he sexually abused me and beat the kids. Oh, hello. It was a big deal.
What's it called?
It really was. The Ultimate Betrayal.
That sounds familiar.
Well, it was on Lifetime for a long time. Ali Sheedy, if you're 60, you should know who she is. Brat Pack, Ali Sheedy.
I'm not good at names.
Oh, okay. Yeah. No, but you can run it on Amazon for like $3.99.
Okay, I want to look at that. That's about your family.
It's about me and my sisters and what happened. Yes.
Well, I have 2 brothers that grew up with me. I have a half brother that was born when I was 14, not talking about him, but I have 2 brothers that were affected by the generational sexual abuse. I guess it started with my grandfather, and then it went to my dad, and then it went to my brothers. And even though it happened to them, it seemed like because they're my brothers, I guess I continue to hear the stories. I've had two cousins on both sides of the family contact me within the last 2 months after decades of not talking to them, telling me what they saw my brothers do. And I didn't know it was that bad. I mean, I wrote a book about it, not just that, just my family, and then later my whole life. But I didn't know how many people it affected.
Are you kidding me? Yeah.
And, and then I have a sister severely mentally ill, has been institutionalized her whole life. And I have another sister, she's out there doing whatever. But I was always different. I was youngest and I was different. And
I was the youngest too.
really? And
yeah.
Sometimes I wonder if that near-death experience at 5 years old gave me something that I was going to need, because I felt like I got a high moral compass.
There you go.
During the drowning, I was told things and shown things.
Sure.
And I was like, well, that's not fair. And I've always had that it's not fair attitude. And my family didn't. Somebody could be getting beat to a pulp, they didn't care. And I'm calling cops and I'm telling the cops the truth. And I'm taking care of everybody. But so that's interesting. But even though you grew up in that, I'm sure you're not an abuser.
Absolutely not. I remember, and I'll say this straight up, I remember my daughter was 3 at the time, and she broke something very special of mine, and I was enraged, and I grabbed her and I spanked her and I spanked her, and I said, at least I'm not doing anything like touching her vagina. I mean, that came out of nowhere, and I just thank God I just stopped and pulled myself together and like, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Mm-hmm. But I can't believe that I said, well, at least, to give myself permission to beat her butt.
Mm-hmm. I think I kind of noticed my inefficiency or something when we got the adopted girls, because they were clingy and wanted to hug. And it was a competition between the girls. There's 9 adopted, youngest is a boy. So I got these 8 girls, the 2 sibling groups. And I think they were like competing for me. And my boys, it was one thing, show affection, but with girls, I wasn't comfortable. And I think it's where my mother never showed me affection. So I didn't know. I mean, she never said, I love you. There was never a hug. There was never tender moments, So I mean, I love these girls and I did everything beyond you can imagine for them, way above the call of duty, no matter what they did to me. But I don't know. I learned to accept it, but yeah, it was a struggle in the beginning.
Well, it's hard. Forgiveness is a really tough place to go sometimes. But for me, it's the only place I'm able to go. There's been a lot of people who have hurt me, and it's the most freeing feeling. Holding all that anger and rage is poison. I don't want it in my body because it hurts. So I'm going to be of the spirit of forgiveness. I don't have to forget, but I can forgive. That's my choice. That's where I need to go with stuff. And a lot of crappy things happened to me. A lot. Where I felt entitled to be angry. Why? What purpose is it serving? Can you tell me?
Did you carry that from your childhood?
Oh, yeah. I mean, but not forgiveness. No, I thought it was like, well, I can be mad at them for the rest of my life. Yes, you can. The bad news about that is it doesn't do anybody any service except you. It's only hurting you. So I'm done with being hurt that way.
See, people always assume that I didn't forgive. And I'm like, that you don't understand. They wanted nothing to do with me from the day I was born. So how do you go up to somebody that wants nothing to do with you, just as soon you die and say, I forgive you. I mean, what point would that be? And because their response would be, I wish I would have done more.
Right, right. Well, there is that. But the only thing I can have any say over is what I say in the moment. I'm completely 100% transparent. Google me. I don't care. I got nothing to hide. And do you know how freeing that is? What a gift that is? That's a huge gift to feel that free. So free. Like what you think of me or what Joe Schmo thinks of me, it's like water on a duck's back. I'm good. It's
Well,
quite lovely.
when these cousins came to me, what I released from that was I always had a little bit of blame. People blame me a little bit that you don't go around your family. Well, I had to protect my kids. My kids was not going to be around any of them people, and they wasn't. And after I heard what my cousin said, I was like, this was never in my head. This was never made up. This was not exaggerated. This was worse than I thought. And I'm so thankful that, new mom, 19 and 20 years old, that I made that decision. They will never be around my children.
Right.
And I introduced my kids to my dad. They were preteen. He showed up here. He was dying of cancer. He had just got back with my mother after years of being married to other people. Briefly, it didn't last long. And boys, this is your grandfather. And my mom made him get my kids really nice gifts for Christmas that year, because he's always showered the other kids and my kids never got a thing, And so that's the memory they have of him. And that's fine. They met him.
Yeah. My daughter met my dad when she was 2. And I believe she's forgotten, which I'm grateful for. But again, my dad, I don't know a huge amount of his history because I'm the youngest, and I'm talking the dead end youngest. The closest sibling to me is 6 years older, and the furthest is 16 years older. So something happened to my father. There is no way he would have moved forward and done what he did had he been loved and embraced by his own family. People don't do any of that if they get love. It's when there's rage and hate and anger, trauma happens. So,
I told my cousin, I said, I have in my book too. I said, and I've told an interview with Lee Whitting before, he brought it up, I think, but where I'm little, probably 5, and I go in my bedroom, my nightgown, and I'm so tired, and don't even turn on the light. I just crawl on the bottom bunk, and somebody picks me up, and my eyes adjust, and I realize as he holds me in his lap, this is my uncle. There's another uncle in there, and all the adult cousins, or maybe even teenage years, some of them, and they're all around the room, and they pass me around to see what a little girl feels like. And I told my cousin this just a couple weeks ago that I hadn't seen in 50 years. Right. He said, Peggy, they did that all the time. That's a party to them. That's how they partied. And I'm like,
I'm sorry, Peggy. I'm so sorry.
Like, and when I had told my mom about this years ago, trying to get some understanding, I'm a mother at this point, maybe 20 years ago. And she's one of these memories are really coming out strong. And she said, well, why didn't you scream? Most kids would have screamed. But she remembers I told that night, because after that, then my memory goes to on the backseat of the car, and we're headed to one of those uncle's house. And I'm with the 4 of my siblings, one's up front, I'm squished back there. And my brother says, Mom, Peg's crying. And Mom turns around, what's wrong? And I told her, which is unusual for a child, and that's probably the only time I ever told anything. And so my dad parked the car outside my uncle's house. My mom kept us kids in. Mom says, go in there and beat the shit out of them. And so us kids are like, yay, we're like getting these pictures of the Western movies, pow, pow, our dad's the hero. And then time went by, like he went coming back. And then the kids turned the scenario to, oh, they beat up dad's hurt, and it's all your fault. And I'm sitting there feeling horrible, like my dad's hurt. Is my dad okay? And then my dad comes out. He says, okay to go in now. And so my imagination in these Western movies, they're all going to be laying there hurt, or they're going to be standing there. I'm sorry. They were lined up in this hallway when you walk out. All of them that had just molested me, all lined up, shaking our hands as we walk through the hall. And I'm in the back because I'm the littlest, and I'm watching and I stay back. And I ain't touching their hands. Oh my God, I was so betrayed. And the steps were to the right, and I ran up the steps, and there was that attic closet, and I went in there and I shut the door and I hid in that. And later my brother come out, was playing with my cousins, and I peeked out and I said, you tell me when we're ready to go home. Don't leave me here. Make sure you tell me, but don't come get me till we're ready to go home. And I hid in there. And so, and then to talk to these cousins and hours and hours, they're telling me stuff of how horrible my family was.
Did you know, Peggy, that there's more stories like ours than not?
People don't talk about it. I was told not to talk about it.
Well, me neither, but I'm telling you, it's like a good chunk of people that I've worked with had sexual abuse happen to them, and it's more rampant than you think. It's kind of like heroin. It's out there, and there's a lot of wounded people walking around. So,
and I can imagine I will get comments from at least one person saying, we want to hear the beauty of heaven in NDEs. We don't want to hear about your child abuse.
Oh, the thing about it is, though, is that how can one be without the other? There cannot be dark all the time, and there cannot be light all the time. It's always going. Oh, that was another place. This is another thing that happened, and it just came to me. Are you ready? So I'm walking in heaven, and I'm looking over this mountainous kind of view, and I see a Ferris wheel, a carnival, and I'm looking, and I'm seeing the man. When the man like pushes it to go and to stop, well, he stops it, and he gets from a nurse a brand new baby, and he puts it on the Ferris wheel, and I watched the Ferris wheel, and it got to be a toddler, and then it got to be a young adult, and then it got to be old, and it starts all over again. So that's how I saw the cycle of life happening. It made a lot of sense, like, oh, and nobody's supposed to put a wrench into any of that because it's a cycle. Just like nature is, and things that happen out beyond what we see, there's a formula to it. There's a cycle to it. This God of ours is an incredible scientist, and probably one of the funniest, hilarious gods ever. Have you seen some of the comedians out there? Have you seen? Hilarious. So some of the, I guess it depends on what your ears are attuned to, but I'm more of a in the hood kind of a girl than sprouting wings. Really, I'm much better with talking to the blue collar people than I am Queen of England, but I could talk to her too.
See, I'm weird. Like I was just telling somebody the other day, like I would talk to the janitor the same. Like one time, a woman from the senator's office walked in. Everybody hid in her office, and I walked up. And I'm like, what are they doing? Like, hey, what's going on? She says, well, I wanted to know if I could go on a ride, and I want to know like a day in the life of a caseworker. And everybody's hiding. They're like, no. I'm like, well, come on. Now, what's our problem? And we went out and had a good time, just as it no different than we get interns coming in, going through college,
Right.
One day in a life. Sure, come on. No different. And we went to a Trump rally a few years ago. And as soon as we walked in the building, here was this big group of television reporters, the cameras and all this, the whole team of them. And they seen me and made a beeline to me. Why, I don't know. And stuck that in my face and asked my opinion. Well, do you think they got it? They got an earful.
So.
Yeah. I told them what for. And they'd asked me more questions and more. And I gave them what for and what for and what for again. And I knew it wasn't going to go on air, and it didn't. But I gave them pause because I answered every one of their questions, and in a way that they was not wanting or expecting. And they started shaking their head in agreement, and their mouths was flying open. And they were like, thank you, thank you.
Well, here's an example. You're a Trump supporter. I am not. And you and I are having a conversation.
Yeah, it don't have to be, oh, I ain't speaking to them like this vaccinated, unvaccinated crap. If you're unvaccinated, they hate you. I've seen them on Facebook saying those people should die because they're not vaccinated. They shouldn't be allowed in the hospital. They shouldn't be treated. They should do this and this and this and this. I'm like, wow. That is no different than they were tearing up our monuments and burning down businesses. And you know what got me the most? I'm going to go on a rampage here. Is when this all first started and the newscasters was standing on the street with their cameras and microphones interviewing the ones carrying guns and said, oh yeah, there's a cop, we'll kill him if he comes over here, and just continue talking to him like they're a normal person. And oh yeah, we're going to tear up this and we're going to do that, and they're interviewing these people like they're human beings. And well, I was like, what just happened here? Where's my world? Where's my country?
Oh, I know. I'm as shocked as you are, but it is what it is, and we need to deal with it. How I choose to deal with it is going to be maybe very different than you do, Peggy, but it's right here. And if I meet you with compassion and kindness, usually people don't get crappy back. They don't. Hi, how's it going? Good, how are you? That's my world.
I have good friends that hate Trump, and you know, one is Jewish, and so, but we're buddies. You know, we can laugh and joke and make comments, and we get mad at each other once in a while, but you know, it's not worth throwing a friendship away over.
No. And I'll tell you what, God loves the whole bit of it. All the shit that's going on, God's involved in all of it. And the one miraculous thing that God has given us is the freedom to choose. It's our choice what feels better than not.
And I had a guy call me a few weeks ago, and he wanted to be on, talk about his NDE. And he says, but I'm atheist. I said, that's okay. I'll still have you on. Let me see what happened. And then we got talking, and I stood my ground, but respect to him. And he said, you know, you gave me a lot to think about. I never heard from him again. And then a lady called me a couple of weeks ago. She was going to come on. She's sort of a famous NDE, or not really. I mean, she's out there, but she wanted to talk to me first. And she wanted to know my politics. And she brought up abortion. And everybody knows how I feel. I'm as pro-life as you can be. And she knew that. And she tried convincing me of the pro-choice stuff. And I'm like, she decided she didn't want on my show. But that's okay. But I'm not telling these people they can't come on because of my politics. They're deciding they don't want to come on because of theirs. And that's fine too. Right. But I just wish they wouldn't waste my time, you know?
Right.
You know who I am. You know what I stand for. And we can disagree. We can't even don't have to bring it up. Tell me your NDE.
Yeah, right. Well, mine's still not over. it's been over for about 7 months, but I've been experiencing things for the last 21 years. So
Have you thought about writing a book?
yes.
Good.
Yeah, that's actually, I'm actually walking away from my practice, which is really challenging because I'm a healer and I love my work. But this book is going to be important for people to read. It's got some really good stuff in it, I think.
Well,
That's my
remember, you start feeling that dark forces again, remember, my child.
Oh boy, I'm
Because
all good.
we're all his
And
children.
to be with Satan,
Huh?
all of his children. We're all his children.
Yes. But when you hear
But
it,
it's not.
wow, you don't forget that. It was so moving for me. And mine come in a situation, my husband of 16 years had just asked for a divorce and said, you can have this, you can have that, and the other, and the
I'm
kids.
sorry.
Huh? And so he says, we got home and he said, I'm gonna take our 3 boys and start my visitation this weekend. So they left. My house was so quiet, it hurt my ears. The noise of the quiet. I don't know if anybody knows what that feels like. They took my family, took my husband, they took my life. And I take it in stride because that's what I do, you know. Okay. He's like, whatever he wanted, okay. I'll only give you this much child support. Okay. Okay. As long as I have my kids, okay. Thank you. I get my house too. Okay. Thank you. I got the mortgage too, but okay, whatever. I just love him, want him to be happy. If it's not me making him happy, then you please go be happy. So they left.
Right.
I go in the bathroom and I'm sobbing, and I'm not a crier. And I'm sobbing. I think I just talked about this the other day on one of these shows. And anyway, so I heard, as I'm sobbing, I hear my child. But what I didn't talk about is if that hadn't happened, because that changed me, like now, I no longer needed my parents, my siblings, his family, my ex to love me. I had God. He's my family. That's all I need. If I hadn't had that moment, a couple hours later, my ex called. He said, there's a party down at the river. I want to take you. Oh, okay. He doesn't know I don't want back together. He thinks it's the old Peggy. I'm a new Peggy now. In that moment, I changed. And he wanted me to get in that boat down the river where he tried to kill me before. He tried all night. Come on, get in a boat. Get in a boat. Nope. I'm dancing. I danced for myself all night. My feet were black for weeks where I danced with my bare feet on the riverbank. Had a band down there and everybody's dancing. I danced myself for hours. I just was rejoicing, celebrating. What happened in the bathroom? My child. And nobody knew. Nobody needed to know. And he was mad. He couldn't get me in that boat. And I thought over time and over time. And I told my husband, if I would have gotten that boat, he would have killed me. If I hadn't heard my child and got changed, I would have died that night. I know for a fact I would have been in the bottom of Ohio River.
Well, I'll tell you what, had I not had my near-death experience, mental illness probably would have taken me at some point. I don't know at what point, but it was going down in a bad way, bipolar wise. And fortunately, my psychiatrist is a very spiritual man, and he can go there with me, which is like not something a lot of doctors will do. But he's incredible and has helped me make it through, you know, because it's not been easy, Peggy.
I know. And I have a theory that us abused kids, abused wives, abused husbands, that God has compassion, and we may be more prone to get that miracle, that NDE, that leg up.
Yeah, it definitely is a leg up.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when people say, oh, well, how did you know that? How did you learn that? It's getting easier, but it's kind of like, well, Jesus told me. And people don't like to hear that kind of stuff.
Right.
So you have to be careful, you know?
No, you don't. No, really, you
Well,
don't. It's a choice.
it is a
Because
choice.
I
But it's
understand
like,
there's a time and place.
I don't want to fight people.
Oh, no.
I don't
Oh,
want to
no.
convince people. I don't want to do any of that stuff, because
Right.
if I had my own congregation, I would suck as a preacher. Believe me. I'm
I would
not.
too. I couldn't get through without cussing.
Me neither.
Although I gave up caffeine about a month ago.
Why, you crazy lady?
No, it made me crazy. It
Oh,
made me cuss. It made me mean. It made me mad at my husband. It was
okay.
like bad. My body's so sensitive
Yeah, mine too. What made you
to,
stop? What made you?
I didn't like how I was feeling. I felt like I was losing
Okay.
control. And
Okay.
so I had trouble with caffeine before, when I was before menopause, because I would
Yep.
get PMS so bad, and you add caffeine in it and you add hunger, and it's like a bad scenario. And so I knew that. So when I went through after menopause, I thought I can enjoy a cup of coffee now and then. But all of a
Yeah.
sudden, I don't know what changed. Suddenly I couldn't again. Only it was worse than ever. And I cut it out, and it's like I got my mental health back the next day.
Well, that's great.
Now I won't touch it. It's like
Okay.
a drug, like stay away from that. Like, some alcoholics
Yeah.
drink and they don't care. They beat your wife in their drink because they don't remember it. It's like that. It's like, this causes me problems, and problems for the people
Yeah.
I love. And I can't
Right.
do it, and I will never touch it again. There's Coca-Cola in
Good
there.
for
And some
you.
days I just want to grab that cold Coke, and nope, I'll get some Kool-Aid.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm a recovering smoker. Boy, did I love cigarettes. Oh boy. That, with a cup of coffee, I'm set for life. Or a margarita and a cigarette. Best friend, worst enemy.
I don't drink very much, hardly at all anymore. And so I didn't know how alcohol affects me differently now. And a friend of mine had a birthday. I took her to Mexican. Luckily, my husband with us is a designated driver. I had 2 margaritas, and they gave her a shot of tequila because it was her birthday, and they forced me to drink it because she didn't want it. And so I did it. I was so drunk. I shouldn't have been that drunk on 2 margaritas and a shot. Yeah, a little drunk, but not. I mean, I laid in the front yard when we got home, and I couldn't get up. And my husband finally come out and helped me to the bathtub. I had a bruise on my face where I passed out in the tub and hit the side of the tub. And I got sick in January and had this little out of body experience. And I was telling my asthma doctor, and she sent me for a bunch of tests, and she's concerned about my liver. Because if I'm not tolerating alcohol, and etc., I don't know. But I don't know. I just think my body's just super sensitive for whatever reasons now. Like I was saying, the video I did last night, I went to the dentist, and they just gave me a numbing shot, and I'm floating out of my body.
Yeah.
And so I think once we've been out and we go out again, like I just had a little OBE when I was sick, I think it did something. I think if my body just wants to whoop, pop out, or so.
You just don't know.
And so that'd be interesting to see with people that's had multiple out of body NDEs is medications.
I had a lot of out of body experiences too. I've had a lot of them, but never a near death. My God, it was an incredible miracle that I had as much going against me as I did. I had a 1% chance of a quality of life and a 10% chance of living. And those are really shitty odds.
I keep saying
but it was
It seems to me like if you've had an NDE and you're in the hospital and they know that you had just died for a bit or how long, whatever odds they would have normally gave you, throw that paper away. Because if you've had an
Yeah,
NDE, it's like you're going to get a healing.
absolutely. No question.
You can take
My
it to the
life
bank, I think.
to the bank. I got a
Good
shit
place to
ton of
end, huh?
money.
Take it to the bank. Well, thank you so much for coming
You're
on.
welcome. So where do I view this? Where
Oh,
will you send it to
Um,
me, or
It should be ready tomorrow, and I will send it to you.
okay? You will?
Yeah.
That would be really great, Peggy. Thanks for taking your time.
Oh, it's my pleasure. I love doing this.
Oh, good.
I
Okay.
do. I love it. Okay, I'll talk to you later.
All right, bye.
Bye.